folks, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at another knife by Ganzo. This is the FH31. I've got the 41 and the 51 coming, and they'll be here hopefully soon for me to do an unboxing video on. But today we're looking at this guy. I'm going to call it a Wharncliffe, even though there is a bit of a belly on this blade. It's so close to straight that I'm calling it a Wharncliffe instead of a sheep's foot. I've got a video on the differences. It's really not that hard and fast of a rule, but calling this a Wharncliffe, we've got a swedge that comes across the front of this tip here. D2 steel, that's been tested and verified as D2, not this exact knife, but Ganzo's D2 steel has been tested by a third party in the United States. G10 handle scales, you can get it in black or a deep OD green, or you can get it with a carbon fiber laminate. So those are the ways of getting this knife. It's a good mid-size folding knife. If you're interested in a budget knife like this, under 25 American shekels, stay tuned. It's coming at you right now. I've got just a little advertisement to do as well. If you are looking for a TS Prop KCRA3 sharpening system, that is their piece de resistance, their best sharpening system that they have. You can get a barely used one for 400 US shekels from my friend Joe down in Florida. And he's got it. He decided that after he got it that he wanted to get a motorized. He's got this nice high-end belt-driven system, you know, not one of those work sharp things, but you know, a really nice high-end belt-driven system that does his knives like that. I wouldn't mind getting one of those myself, especially for reprofiling. That'd be great for doing that. But if you're looking for a TS Prop K03 with some extras, 400 shekels, you can't beat that price, especially since it is essentially brand new. Just email me at CanadianCuttingEdge@gmail.com and I'll put you in touch with Joe. Like I said in the intro, we've got D2 steel, and it's, you know, a good thickness of steel. It's right around 3 millimeters. We'll go through all the specs a little bit later. What we have is a blade that's got a flat grind here, so flat on both sides. So we call that a saber grind. And you can see the cutting edge ground right there, all the way across. It's got a very, very slight belly there. And this is the factory grind, fairly sharp from the factory. We've got a fairly strong tip, the way that it's shaped here with that swedge. It keeps a fair bit of steel behind the tip. Still not recommended to pry with this thing, but pretty good back there. Full thickness of the spine most of the way up here, and then it only starts the distal taper right here at the tip. So it's not really a distal taper, it's just the tip taper here. And you can see the writing on the knife here, where it says, let's see if I can get the light on there right. Firebird knife made by Ganzo, FH31 D2 on this side. And the other side here just has that Firebird logo on it. Take a look at the G10 here. You can see that we've got the blue anodized pivot screw. Nested liners, and so you can see where your thumb rests are there. It's got a little bit of jimping on it. And then we've got a back spacer made out of G10 as well, and it sticks up a little bit proud, some jimping on it, and that's where your lanyard hole is. I like having the lanyard hole that way because it is set in a little bit so that your paracord doesn't have to come out around the sides of the knife and make a big bundle. I don't use lanyards very much, but when it's built like this, the knife is more conducive to having a paracord on it. You've got a spacer here for your pocket clip on the opposite side, so you can put it on either side if you want to, left or right. I like it when they don't just leave the hole empty right here where they've ground a spot for the pocket clip to sit in. So that's a good thing. It's a little extra, but it's done well. You've got a nice rounded chamfer here by the belly of the handle. It feels quite good in hand. There you go. So when you put it in your hand, it's good with your regular, fist grip like this. You've got a forward choil, so you can grip it like that if you want to. Reverse grips work very well, quite comfortable. You don't put your thumb across the end though, that's not too comfortable that way, but if you put your thumb around it, quite comfortable. The guard that the flipper tab creates helps keep the knife very safe. The pull grip in the reverse works very well as well. Oh, that hurts. My knuckle here, I broke this knuckle about 20 years ago very badly, and the arthritis in it is starting to get annoying. But it's still quite comfortable to hold in hand. I didn't do extended use with my right hand. With my left hand, I did a fair bit of use, a fair bit of cutting, and it works quite well. I ended up getting the edge fairly, well, I dulled it up a bit, but I measured the cutting edge before I made it dull, so I can give you all that. We've got ball bearings in here, and I'll show you a picture of the knife taken apart. So there you go. It's very well built, easy to do maintenance on it. Take it apart if you want to. I'm not so fond of this blue anodization because it does scratch off quite easily, but it's a nice little touch, and it's not a problem. I don't mind. Now let's go over all of the measurements. All right, the details of this thing, the factory edge, the sharpness from the factory, 190. I was hoping it'd be a little bit better than that. 200 is considered sharp. Any number lower is quite sharp. It weighed 114 grams, 4 ounces even. And the measurements, the cutting edge, 7.7 centimeters, 3.03 inches. From the tip of the blade to the closest spot on the G10, 8.5 centimeters, 3.35 inches. Yeah, so it's a little under 3.5 inches. The blade thickness right here is 3.05 millimeters, which is 0.12 inches. The blade depth, and I usually measure about an inch down the end of the blade, 2.56 centimeters, which is 1.01 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is 0.59 millimeters, which is 0.023 inches. So it's a little thicker behind the grind than I'd like. And I forgot to write down the grind angle. So the grind angle, that's the angle that they did this final sharpening at. That's on the screen right here. 20 degrees per side is considered normal for EDC knives. The handle now, the handle length is 11.4 centimeters, 4.49 inches, so 4.5 inch handle. The grip area, so between my thumbs, is 9.7 centimeters, 3.82 inches. The handle thickness is 1.18 centimeters, 0.465, so a little under half an inch. And that's, I think, largely because they nested the liners. That helped them make it a little bit thinner, which is a little bit better for more discreet carry. The handle depth, it's biggest right here, and that is 2.59 centimeters, 1.02 inches. And when the knife is closed, it's largest right here, and that is 3.66 centimeters, 1.44 inches. The total length of this knife, it's almost exactly 20 centimeters, which is 7.87 inches. So it's a little bit on the small side of your average full-size knife, but I call this still a full-size knife. And I've already mentioned the prices. The prices vary just a little bit depending on if you're getting the carbon fiber or the G10, but right around $25 US is what you can get it for, a little bit less in some places and a whole lot more in other places. The least expensive place I could find it in the United States is at Power Cutlery, and they've given me a 5% off coupon for me to give to you. Each customer can use this coupon once for Ganzo knives. Other knives won't receive the discount. So it doesn't just have to be the 31, it can be some of their other ones. I really like the look of their 41 and their 51. And those are some really good looking knives. They also have D2 steel. So what do I like about this knife? I do like this forward choil. I would like this knife to have thumb studs. I would really like that. There's lots of space here. There's a good, nice, huge flat area here. If I had tools that I could drill through hardened steel well, I would put thumb studs in here, and I would probably grind down this flipper tab. Thumb studs would be awesome for this knife. Some people really like thumb studs, and other places, flipper tabs, it tends to signify to some people that it's a weapon if it's got a flipper tab. This, since it's a Wharncliffe, it really does have the feeling of a tool. Hopefully most people recognize that knives are tools, except for when they're weapons, and I prefer my knives as tools. So that forward choil, it stays pretty thick for most of it, so when your finger's on there, you can get a pretty good secure hold on it. Your thumb can rest up here, and since you've got that 3mm thick here, 3.05, your thumb can be very comfortable up there, and you can do a lot of good work. Put your finger back here if you want to do some delicate work. Even if you want to go forward, then you can put your middle finger in that choil, and you can sneak up even closer to the tip of the blade. Lots of different ways to hold this knife, as I've shown you already. Mostly pros. The only con is I wish it had a pocket clip. I mean, not pocket clip. I wish it had thumb studs. And that's not really a con at all. That's just a desire for a design change. Very well built. Lockup is really good. There's no blade play side to side, up and down. When the knife is closed, the blade centering, it's not perfect, but it's quite good. So it's got a lot going for it. When it's in your pocket, it sits quite deep. Some of you will want to see that, so I'll show you that right now. That's a quite deep fit. Just got a little bit, peeking out right there, and that's not bad at all. So this knife has got so many things good going for it. I do like stonewash knives because they don't show off my fingerprints so much. And my skin tends to be quite oily. It's just something that my skin does more than average. But I like the grinds. It looks really good. You've got a horizontal grain sanding on the flats, and then these vertical sanding lines on the main bevel here. It's a well done knife. It does look a little odd in some ways. Some people think it looks odd. I like it. I think it looks good. It feels good in hand. There's nothing extra hot, except for, maybe a little bit of a con is this thumb when you got a reverse grip. Where do you put your thumb? It doesn't quite have a good feeling for that. So that's probably as significant as the thumb stud, which means not significant at all. But it's a thing that if you do a lot of reverse gripping, maybe this isn't the best Ganzo knife for you. Maybe something else is better. The action is very smooth. The bearings are really good for that. You don't have to work hard to flip it. You can use the light switch method, pulling straight back, and you can push straight down and flip it. The detent is perfect on this knife. It's exactly as strong as I want a detent to be. No heavier, no lighter. The detent's perfect on this knife. I am very, very pleased with that on this knife. Like I said, it's got a nice strong tip, but not for prying, of course. Good action. I like the recessed liners. I like this light jimping that's revealed on the liners right there. You don't need a lot of jimping. The knife is just so comfortable. It locks in hand. All good stuff. I could just go on and on, repeating the same things over and over again, but I won't waste your time. Thank you so much for watching my video. It's getting close to the end of the month, and there's a very good chance that if you're going to Blade Show, you're going to see me there. There's a vendor that invited me to volunteer at their booth. They would pay my trip to Blade Show if I volunteered. And but they're not getting their permits, their visas to be able to go to the show. So I don't know for sure if I'll be there or not, but I hope I'm there. And if I am at Blade Show, I'll have time to come see people at different booths and things. And if you do come, check out the Hapstone booth. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyhow, these knives are great. Power Cutlery is where I got it. Paid full price. This is my review. I recommend it highly. Thanks for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.